I can't wait to show you guys how easy it is to paint these beautiful blue hydrangeas step by step. In today's video, I'm gonna walk you through everything you need to create a beautiful painting like this. You can sketch this out yourself, or I have paint-along kits available for a limited time, which include this sketch plus the next video sketch, which will be of white hydrangeas, so we can create a matching set. Hi guys, my name's Ashley Salvatori. I'm a professional artist here in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. I have a studio where I create fine art prints out of my original paintings. Here are some of the hydrangea prints that I have within my collection, and today we're going to get started on creating your very own painting. We're going to be using acrylic paints for this. I found this great set on Amazon and I'll link it up below. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, however I do find this set to be really complete, and I like that it has all of the colors that I usually use within my professional paints. To start, we're going to be blocking out the darker shadows within the painting. With acrylics, we paint from dark to light. You can really use any color mixture you want for this first layer, but I used ultramarine blue and a bit of raw umber and some white as well as some cobalt blue. I've created a companion guide in the description which will have a list of all of the colors we're using today in this video, so you can sit back, relax, and just watch this painting unfold. Whether you are watching to learn exactly how to create these hydrangeas so you can do all different variations, or if you're following step by step today, creating this exact painting as I am. Now we'll go in with the second layer with just a little bit lighter blue. Every layer we're going to create, one after the next, is going to be just a little bit lighter by adding more white to our blue colors. I suggest you watch this video all the way through and then start your painting and pause as we get to the next step, because I am speeding up each one so that we're not spending forever on one single step. You can easily pause the video after we get through the next layer. So we're just adding even more lighter petals coming in the top. This is going to add depth and dimension to our beautiful blooms of hydrangeas. And so slowly you're just going to be bringing in more and more white as we continue going on. Now we're coming in with our lightest layer of our petals. So now we are adding just a tiny bit, little bit more detail, and just be a little bit more mindful that this is kind of going to be shaping the final piece. I did mostly use the cobalt blue with the white. I wanted the colors to be light, creamy, and to feel very coastal. I mentioned earlier we're going to be creating a match to this painting in next week's video, where we will be doing white hydrangeas with a light blue background, and it's going to be created to match this one perfectly so you can display them side by side. I'm going to add a little bit of the yellow ochre to this layer and add it to the light white blue that I already have created, just to create just a tiny bit of color variation and to bring in the greens that we kind of see within the hydrangea. I'm not adding purple to this hydrangea because I want this to just be fully blue, but purple would look really pretty if you layer it in, kind of like how the real hydrangea looks on the left of me. Now we're going to get into the stem, and this is actually a very satisfying part of the painting. I'm using quite a bit of water to thin out the paint. You'll notice that my brush is kind of smoothly running across the paper, and that's how I get that. Now, when you create a first layer on acrylics and when you're painting on paper, adding more water and treating it a little bit like watercolor does work, and it does create a very nice, easy painting experience that is enjoyable and also less frustrating. So we're just going to block in where the greens are going to be. I mixed this green with hooker green with just a tiny bit of yellow ochre, and I build upon our leaves here with more blue if I wanted to go a little darker and deeper, or I add more of the yellow to brighten it up. You can add a bit of white to the green as well if you want it to kind of feel a little bit more of like a pale green color. That's fine too. Don't worry if you feel like you're messing up at all during this stage, because we can always paint over our mistakes with acrylic. That's one of the best parts about this medium, and really what we're doing here is the first layer. And so while this step, being that we are painting on paper and we are able to use more water, we're able to create lighter brush strokes that have a luminosity to them that you don't usually see in acrylic paints. And it's also probably one of the most fun ways to paint when you're painting with acrylics. So as I go in with these tiny little details, I'm just adding just a little bit of brush strokes. For this entire painting, I've been using flat brushes, but also these finer tip brushes that come with that beginner's acrylic set. All of the green brushes you see here came with that set. So I do really like these brushes, actually, probably more so than a lot of the brushes I have in my collection. And I will be painting with these brushes from now on because I like them so much. So we're going to go in with this glass vase. Now, don't let a glass vase intimidate you. You got to get started and try it to see how you feel about it. If you don't like how your glass vase turned out, you can always just fill it in with a solid color and then just make it just a single vase. Or you can get rid of the vase altogether and just paint around it and just have your hydrangeas floating stems on the paper. That's cool too. So I just outlined this with like a charcoal gray that I created out of raw umber and ultramarine blue. This is the process I go through when I create all of my glass vases. So we're just kind of bringing in the darker outline, and then we're going to mix up some lighter grayish paint colors for the interior. Now, making it more painterly, it does have this look when you have water in the vase that looks great, and it does hide a lot of mistakes because you can make it look really pretty, and when you step back from it, you'll be like, wow, that actually looks like a vase as you get going coloring these in. It's surprising, and I don't know, most of the time when I'm painting these, that's how it feels. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I think this is working, and then by the time you get to the end, it's like, wow, that actually looks like glass. And so we're using white as highlights around the rim of the glass. This is kind of a squared glass, if you can tell by the shape of the mouth of the glass. I have like a square vase here, and down here where the stems meet the bottom of the glass, you're going to want to add just a little bit of reflection by adding some of the green to the center there, and then we're going to use our darker paint colors along with the lighter paint to just imagine where you think the light is hitting the glass. And don't worry about perfection here, but I will suggest creating it a little bit darker around the edges and then adding a little bit of light in the center here. And I put some raw sienna mixed with some white in just to add some color variation, so we're not just all the same monochromatic colors, but just to give a little bit of interest. And then I'm coming in with white to kind of tighten it up, the details, and make it feel like it's complete. And now, what do you think of the vase? Do you like it? I know, it actually looks like a vase. It's crazy. So now we're gonna add a lot of white with a tiny bit of yellow ochre, and we're going to create our background. Now, your background can be light blue if you want. I could have gone either way with this, but I decided to go with like a creamy white because, for one, most of the paintings that I have in my collection, they don't really have a light white background, so I wanted to add that in there. And because next week's video we're going to be painting white hydrangeas with the blue background, I thought it would match a lot better if we're creating a set for our own home decor. Now, usually I don't suggest painting another artist's painting or using it as your reference, but I'm giving you guys permission to use this as your own personal use. But of course, many of you might be watching this video just to see the behind the scenes and how these paintings unfold. As we add in the base of this, I'm going in with just a very light pale gray that I mixed together with a lot of the different colors that were already on my palette. I wanted this painting to also have like a shadow, so I created the shadow on the right hand side because a lot of our highlights are on the left of the flower. And this is where I'm going in with the additional details to kind of brighten up where the stem has the lines so that it's not too dark within these leaves. And now I'm also adding a little bit more very, very light blue to areas that I think might need it. And then I'm going to come in with some darker blue to rebuild some of the shadows. And now we're also going to add a little bit more green to the stems where possibly we might have gone over it when we were painting the background or just to build on the details. And then I'm gonna pull in a little bit darker paint here to build out the shadow that's going on the right. If that is way too intense for you at this stage in your painting journey, then forget about the shadow, don't worry about it. I want this piece to be something you're really proud of, that you love, but it can also be a variation of however you feel that it should come together, whether that includes the shadow or not. Now your painting might be perfect at this point, but I'm gonna add a little bit more darker shading to mine just so that it doesn't get totally drowned out, and I want it to feel like there were nice round blooms. And I love how this came out. What do you guys think? Let me know below what you think about this painting. I think it's so pretty. And remember, next week we're gonna be painting white hydrangeas. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss it.